Welcome, welcome.
Hi, hello, how are you? Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. You one moment I realize I need to turn some lights in here.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Is that your living room? Oh, he's so cute.
Okay, now I'm set up. Was unmuted there for a bit. All right. We'll go ahead and wait a little bit here, and then, as usual, on REPL. And how's everyone's day been so far? I know you guys probably just got up.
I just woke up and I just go to Twitch for like a while and there's one streamer who streams around 17 hours already and he hasn't even slept even like 1 minute and I'm like surprised.
Hardcore gamer, bro.
Yeah.
No, not surprised. I woke up and played some games.
There's one
Five.
time I was like I don't want to sleep because like I'm bored, you know. So I just like pop up into my PC and like play some games.
Yeah, no, my parents would be like, no, just no.
Yeah.
5M is pretty good game.
Yeah, but like Asian some of the Asian parents like you use like flip-flops to like hit the children like come back here.
All right. We'll go ahead here. Gonna share my screen. Today, we are going to learn functions. Functions are the backbone of programming. It is anything you want to make, be it games or any kind of program, even other programs that JavaScript is used on, use functions. Um, so if we go ahead here, on the on REPL, link will be in chat as usual. Go create, type in HTML, click on HTML, CSS, JS, and click create REPL.
Wait, do I have to create one every single time?
No.
Oh, I've been doing that.
You can if you want to. I always create one
Same, I've
for
been doing that
examples.
the whole time.
Yeah. If you want to like have one project that continues going, then you can use the same project from before. But if you just want to like write code, like today we're just writing JavaScript, so I'd say probably yeah, make a whole new REPL, and then you can later use the code you learn from here and move it to your main project or whatever. I do suggest having some kind of like project that you put most your code stuff you learn into that. And we'll go ahead while we're on here, go to script.js, a different file here, script.js. Because today we'll be writing JavaScript. And I'll go ahead and find ways to stall for about 7 minutes as people come in. Because I tend to find if I start right away, a bunch of people come in and then I have to explain things again. But I will say real quick, because you guys are the more advanced class, I'm going to do a little quiz for you guys.
5 plus 5 equals 10.
Yes. I'm going to write some code, and you guys will see what's wrong with it. Okay? Let I equal 0. If I equals 0, console.log. We'll console like I am 0. What is wrong with that code? It's a little tricky, but there's something wrong with this code. Anyone got any guesses as to what's wrong?
Is it going to send it into the console?
It is, but that is intentional.
Oh.
Usually when you're programming, you want to be sending things to the console. I'll go ahead and say what's wrong here.
I equals 0. You set the I to 0 instead of questioning if it is 0.
Yes, correct. I should be saying instead of I equals 0, I should be saying I equals 0. As Chris said, this makes I 0. This checks if I is 0. Big difference. All right. That should be enough time. We'll go ahead here. And we'll delete that. All right. Let's talk about functions. If you want to write code and save that code for later, you can actually put that code into a variable. Like instead of putting a number or a string into a variable, you can actually put runnable code to run later, which I'm going to show you now. Let's say we wanted to make a function that did a bunch of stuff and we want to run it later. We'll write let, and we'll call this function name checker. NAME capital CHECKER. Let name checker. We're just making a variable here like normal. Equals. And instead of like a number or a string, we do function. FUNCTION. Important keyword here. Gonna put it in chat. Function. We're not done though. We'll do next is left parenthesis, and we'll make the right parenthesis for us, but make sure it does make it. So we have two parentheses here. Much like an if statement, but unlike an if statement, we actually won't be using what's in the parentheses right now. We'll instead go out of it, click space, and then do left curly brace and enter. And there we go. We have made a function. Doesn't do anything, but it is a function. It looks like a variable at first. It has a name, just like a variable. We can name whatever we want. And then it has a keyword. It has like an if statement, kind of, parentheses stuff, which we'll learn how to use later. And it has brackets. And now inside the brackets, we'll go ahead and write some code here. I'm going to write let name, by the way, different name than the function name. This is name checker. This is just name. Let name equals, and then the quotation marks. So we're making name equal to the string. I'll put my own name. In fact, I won't capitalize my name because we could run into problems there, but my own name. And then you guys put your own name, Try to put a name in English for now. You can just put Dave if you want.
Why do you like Dave so much?
Dave is a really easy name to just think of, It's my go-to just random name. I like DM D&D a lot, and half my NPC is just named Dave because first name I thought of. All right, so now, and by the way, we're writing all our code inside these curly braces here. There should be a curly brace at the first line at the end.
Can I write let name equals King Bob?
Yeah, that works. Make sure you have the quotation mark though, so JavaScript knows it's a string. And now we're going to do if less than sign, if name equals quotation marks, and then Quinn. So here we're making an if statement that just checks if the variable name equals Quinn, and it does. So this if statement should always fire. And then left curly brace, enter, and we would just counsel.log that's a neat name, because it is a neat name. And we have now made a function that actually does something. It doesn't do much right now. It's not very dynamic. The user can't input anything, but it does create a variable, and it checks if that variable equals a certain thing, and if so, it counsel.log something. So it's kind of useful. I'll go ahead here and wait for people to catch up because that is a lot of code. And when you're done, put done in chat, or if you can, go ahead and just copy your code here and then paste it in chat. That way I can check it.
Are you afraid of geckos?
Me, not. Well, yes and no.
I'm very afraid of geckos, and there's gecko.
Oh,
right
geckos. I
behind-
said ghost.
Oh.
I actually love geckos.
Me too. Can you catch geckos for me, please? I'm terrified of geckos. It kept staring at me while I'm showering.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I
And that
remember in
disturbs
Thailand
me
there
a
were a
lot.
ton of geckos and I loved it.
My parents hate.
You can come to Thailand someday and bring all the geckos.
I actually am going to Thailand soon, which would be cool. I'll be able to do a lot more classes and stuff. Yeah, in like a few months I'm going to
Nice.
Thailand. So I'll also be able to do classes in Thai because being there will force me to learn Thai.
Teacher,
Oh, am I recording? Shoot. Yes.
how do you open this console? Because I don't have it.
Oh, it should be. We're not running anything in the console right now, but it should be in the bottom right down here.
There.
Huh. Go ahead and share your screen for me real quick. I'm gonna stop share for a moment and go ahead and share your screen for me. Huh. Oh, wow, you really don't
Oh
have a console.
no. Dark mode alert.
um,
No, you have to. You see that wrench button? Click on that.
oh, someone knows.
No, because like you're half screen. You're half screening it. Screening it.
Oh, yeah, he's right. The wrench button does it. Yeah, just click it one time. Um, maybe it takes a while to come up. Not sure.
Something with a MacBook is like when you half screen it, it's kind of buggy.
Yeah,
So
the wrench works for me for some reason.
Hmm.
One thing you could do for now, in until I can figure that out, is let me share my screen real quick. If you cannot get the console.log to work for some reason, just replace the console.log with alert, ALERT. That way, when you run it, you still get this like alert that pops up. Oh wait, maybe not alert. It's not working. That's maybe. Why isn't alert working for me? Oh yeah, it shouldn't work right now. But yeah, just alert. I'll still be using console.log because Zoom doesn't pick up pop-ups. It doesn't show it to people. So I'll be using console.log. But if you want, you can definitely use alert instead. And Boss and iWii Games and Magic. Yep, all look good. Good job. All right. Now, oh, actually, Magic, you have spelled console.log wrong. You have councol with a C. Should be an F right there. All right. Now, we have code written to be used for later. And if you notice when you run it, nothing's going to happen right now because JavaScript sees a variable and sees, okay, make a new variable, set it equal to this code, and it doesn't run the code yet. It just saves the code to use later. It doesn't actually run your code. So outside the function, outside this curly brace right here on line 6, outside it, I'm going to what's called invoking the function, which is a fancy way to say to run the function, or to run the function is probably a good way to say it. I will do name checker. Make sure to spell it the same way here. Name checker. No let or anything, just name checker, and then left parenthesis. And Revlet should make the right parenthesis for you. And you'll see that the name kind of becomes a different color or something. And you have now invoked a function. And now, when I run it, I get in my console, which is really small right now for some reason. I'll try to make it bigger. Can't really do that. I see that's a neat name down here. in my console.log. If you want, you can also make this console.log into an alert to make it easier to see. And if it works, go ahead and say it works in chat. And if nothing happens, also say that.
It works.
Good job.
I'm lazy to type.
All right, good job, everyone. Now, before I move on, any questions about functions? Any questions anyone have? All right, just had to make sure. And I'm going to go ahead and one thing I'd like to say about naming conventions. Fancy word for the way you tend to name functions, or even usually variables as well, is you never use spaces, like variable names, never spaces. That would make an error. No hyphens or any other like weird symbols, just letters and also numbers. And the important part is using what's called Camel Case, which is having the first word in the function be a lowercase word, lowercase n to begin with, and all other words starting with an uppercase letter. So as you see, I have name checker, lowercase n, capital C. If I wanted to make a really complicated function name like name checker that does stuff, you see the first word of every the first letter of every word is capitalized except the first word. That is just how the naming convention works in JavaScript programming. All programmers do it the same way, mostly. If you go to a different language, it may be different, but that's how it is for JavaScript. Doesn't change any code. You can totally do this. JavaScript would be fine, but that's how programmers do it. All right. Now, I'm going to do a bit of a abstract look at programming, and then I'm going to ask you a question about how that would apply to concrete programming. Basically, how a function works in a more abstract mathematical sense is that a function is a black box. You don't need to know what this black box does. You just do know that if you feed it something, it will spit out something else. For example, you are told that a function multiplies all numbers by 2. And so you expect to be able to feed that function 4 and it spits out 8. You don't know how it does it. It probably just multiplies something by 2, but you know it does. And so it doesn't matter what code's in there, you just know you can feed something in and it spits something out. That is the overall purpose of a function. This function doesn't do anything right now. It doesn't accept any input and it doesn't provide any output. So let's go ahead and fix that. Let's say we wanted to make a function that you could feed in, or you can literally think of feeding, a black box or something. You can feed in any name you want, and if that name is Quinn, or whatever name you put in the if statement, if the name is a certain name, it will say, hey, that's a good name. It's a very judgy function. how would we do that? Let's try it out. It probably has to do with these parentheses here. So in the function parenthesis, okay, up here, I can put something like name. I'm basically creating a variable. This variable I know is going to be whatever the user feeds into my function. I'm then going to delete line 2, going to delete the variable equals Quinn. I don't need it anymore because I just have name Quinn. So I have here name, and I am checking if name equals Quinn. I'm not making name anything. I just know that the user is going to give me a name. I am calling what the user gives me, the variable name, because I know it's going to be a name. I'm checking if name equals Quinn, and if so, console.log, that's a neat name. Basically the same thing we were doing before. Now, let's see how to feed something into the function, because it now does accept something to be fed into it. And we can feed it into it on line 7 here with the name checker. Inside the parentheses that I used to invoke the function, I can put in quotation marks and then Quinn. I am now feeding the function. The string Quinn is taking that name or that string and checking if it's equal to Quinn, and if so, console.log, that's a neat name. And if I run it, I still get that's a neat name. And if I spell it wrong, maybe Quinn, or maybe I was put in Dave, like a lame person, I get nothing. So go ahead, try it out, put a name you expect to pass, and see what it does, see if it counts log, that's a neat name, and then go ahead and change it a bit, or maybe do a whole different name entirely, and see if it does nothing. And go ahead and test that out using the run button, and if it works, put it works in chat. And if it doesn't, put like a sad face or something. And if anyone is having any troubles, you can go ahead and unmute or type it in chat and I can help you out. All right, nice log, Eugene. You know, I'll probably add that to mine too. There we go. Everyone need a smiley face. All right, yeah, looks good, Magic. Good job. I should add more emojis to my class. Here, let me just. There we go. Not just smiley faces. Oh, let me double check real quick. I'm gonna stop share for a moment.
You are depressed emo. Like
Okay, I am recording.
seeing smiley emojis.
Yeah, I thought you thought depressed emoji next time.
I wish there would be like an emo, emo like emoji.
I'm sure there is somewhere. All right, yep, looks good, Eugene. Good job. All right, I'm gonna quickly emo emoji.
Oh, that's an emo emoji.
Yeah, it's kind of more like someone else made it. I
Yeah,
don't see where the
someone
actual
else made
emoji for it though.
Depressed emo boy. I
guess
really want that.
there's some
Yeah.
like darker ones, but not an actual like face emo emoji.
Yeah.
All right. We'll go ahead here. Oh, and by the way, if I ever go too fast and you can't catch up, go ahead and just put it in the chat and I can slow down for y'all. Let's talk about this idea here. Basically, putting in something and spitting something out. And we'll notice one important thing is that we are not spitting something out. At least nothing usable by the code. Sure, we're counselor.logging, but that's only like that's not super useful, you know? For example, what if we in our code wanted to check like if a name is good, and then if so, then do something, right? We actually wanted to use the function. So let's go ahead and I'll do this. Instead of counselor.logging, that's a neat name. We're gonna take that out. In fact, I'm actually gonna copy it. Because I do like it, but whatever. I'll delete it. We'll use it later. I will delete it though. And instead, I'm gonna type return true. Return true. Return true. Two new keywords are possibly new keywords. Return means it is what the function returns. It is what the function gives back to the code. And I'll show you how to use that in a moment. But again, with the idea of feeding something in, giving an input, and then the function popping something out or giving an output. Return is that output. So let's say you tell someone, right, they have a function called name checker, and what name checker does is it tells you if a name is good or if a name is cool or neat or whatever. We have very simple parameters for if a name is neat. It has to be a very specific name. We only like one name, and if it's that name, then we say yes, correct. and we return true. True is called a Boolean statement. A lot of new words, I know. True just means true. Like how the if statement right here is checking if name equals Quinn. True. Name does equal Quinn. We can also say false. If like you put in Dave, it'd be false. Name does not equal Quinn. That's really what the if statement is doing here. It's just boiling this down to check. Okay, name equals Quinn. Okay, true. So run this code. In fact, this line of code here will always run because if true is always true, because true is true. Put it back there. Basically, true is the coding way of saying yes. There's also the coding way of saying no, which is why in here we'll also add an else statement. Multiple ways to do else statements. I actually like to do it like this, where on the right curly brace, I'm going to add else, and then left parenthesis, equal sign, or no, enter, Just like before, else, left parenthesis, making a new area here. I know before I've written it like that, but I saw confusion there, so I just went to write like this. Because remember, you can't write any code in between the if statement and the else. So we have if else. Else just means otherwise. So if name equals true, or if name equals Quinn, return true, or output or spit out true. Otherwise, return false. Or in other words, output or spit out no. So is the name cool? If it's Quinn, return yes, effectively. Otherwise, return no. I'll give everyone a chance to get caught up. And when you're done, you can put done in chat or just copy this and paste it in chat. You see right now, nothing happened. If I run it, nothing should happen. That's okay. We're actually going to use what is being returned in the next part, which is going to be maybe a little complicated, so I just wanted to, let everyone get caught up.
What time is there at your place right now?
It is 7 p.m.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like a whole 12 hours ahead of you. I stay up to 11 tonight teaching the later class.
11
p.m.
11? You have to bring what does it call like coffee or like and stuff.
I used to have Diet Coke, but now I'm on a diet and I'm not drinking that anymore because it's not great. It's not a good thing to be drinking.
Coffee. I mean coffee.
Yeah, I could drink coffee. I'm kind of.
And you can drink tea.
Yeah, usually
Tequila.
tea is what I do. Let's not drink tequila. I'm actually gonna save coffee for college.
Do you drink energy drink? Do you drink energy drink?
Not usually, no. Lately, I've been staying up later, so like 11 is not really a big deal for me. I tend to get hyped up during class, anyways. Oh yeah, sponsor, I feel like in all my recordings, from like a couple weeks ago, I'm always like drinking Diet Coke, just showing it off.
I don't like to drink like Coke or some those stuff.
Yeah, it's not good for you. You
I don't
shouldn't
like
be doing
soda, but I want to drink wine though.
Let's
red
not drink
wine.
wine.
I want to drink red wine.
Yeah. Don't drink, kids. Trust me.
POV, you get drunk.
All right.
I actually want to know what red wine tastes like.
All right. Let's not get me demonetized. Yes, because I care about monetization on YouTube. Okay. Let's go on here. Now, right now we're returning a true or false or a yes or no. We're not doing anything with it. You probably are wondering like what we do with it. What we do is on line 9 before the name checker stuff. I'm gonna give it a space. Go down here, right? I'm putting it on the line before it. I'm gonna do let, and then I'll do is cool, or maybe just name it cool. No, let's go is cool equals name checker. Basically, this code here, name checker, left parenthesis, quotation mark, and then the name. All I've done here is just I made a variable, and I set it equal to calling the function, which may seem a little strange, but all I'm doing is I'm setting a variable equal to the output or the return of this function. So here, is cool is going to be true or false, depending on what name I put in here. And now I'm going to go ahead and count.log is cool. I'll run it, and I'll see here, or down in my console, which is hard to see, unfortunately, I get true. And if I change it, like I put Dave, and run that, I get false. So go ahead, check that. I won't you don't need to like put it in chat or anything. But if you check it and it does work, go ahead and put it works in chat. But I am going to go ahead and move on soon. But basically, now once I've gotten the output of this function, I've gotten true or false. I am just setting true or false equal to this variable, and now I'm just using the variable later. I'm just checking what it is and counter.logging the value of that variable. All right, now let's go ahead and use this for something. I'm going to do if left parenthesis is cool. I only did is cool. I'm not going to say equals or anything, just is cool. Left curly brace, enter. And then I'll do countflow.log. And Eugene, yep, that looks great. Countflow.log, left parenthesis, quotation mark, and then I'll do that name is neat. Do I have my... Nope, I do not. I'll get smiley faces later. Now, all I've done here is I've effectively said if is cool is equal to true, count.log, that name is neat. I know it might look a little confusing here, but I could also do this, right? I can do equal sign true. But because I know is cool is already going to be true or false, I can just plug that into the if statement. Because an if statement can see, oh, it's true, okay, do this. Oh, it's false, okay, don't. That's what if statement does anyways. So because I know is cool is already going to be a Boolean value or a yes no, I can just put is cool in all by itself. I don't need to say equals anything. Cool little coding trick you see a lot. The goal of a coder is to do as little code as possible. The goal of a coder in the end is to not have to write code anymore. And now, if I change it back to Quinn and I run it, I should get in my console.log that name is neat. I really wish I could show you guys better, but hopefully you guys can see it. I do get something in my console.log. That name is neat. I do suggest for you just using alert. That way you get this little pop-up. I don't know if you can see it right now, but a little easier to see. Otherwise, just console.log. iWii games, that looks good. I wonder if you actually spelled official's name right. I'm gonna have to look that up later. Oh, one thing I see about your code iWii games, you don't have the parentheses around is cool, or in your case, nice. Yeah, you still need the parentheses. You can't just plug it in. We're not using Python, or I forget what language you can do that in. Maybe Rust? Not sure. Oh, and one more thing with the naming convention, particularly to iWii games, your name. You put just nice, which would be fine, except you have a capital letter here. It should just be lowercase. It won't affect the code, but it's a naming convention, and so if a programmer, let's say you tell another programmer, okay, my variable name is nice, a programmer will automatically write it with a lowercase n, because that's how all programmers do it. You need to have some kind of naming convention. Otherwise, you have to specify each time what letters are capitalized or not. And if you see for my name is cool, I use the correct naming convention of the first letter of the first word is lowercase, and then all other words afterwards are uppercase. So is cool, I is lowercase, C is uppercase. One day you'll find, I know it doesn't really matter right now, right? At the end of the day, it's just code, it's fine, not a big deal. But one day you find yourself looking at a variable that's a capital I, and think, please change it to lowercase. Because that's just how you've seen it, and naming conventions are important, so it's important to follow them. All right, and to finish our program, because currently we only have, okay, if it's cool, then console.log name is neat. I'm going to go ahead and do my else statement here, just like I did with the return true or false. Else, left curly brace, enter ELSE, and console.log left parenthesis, quotation mark, and then that name is lame. A very judgy function, even though I have very specific standards. And now, if I run it with the name Quinn, I get that name is neat. And if I run it with anything else, like Bob, I get that name is lame.
How dare you use Bob?
I'm
How dare
sorry.
you?
I'm sorry to all Bobs out there, or any other name I use for the lame part. Really, all the other names are good. I just have really
King
specific
Bob.
standards.
King
All right.
Bob for life.
Yes. I'll go ahead and let everyone catch up here. Here is the entirety of the function. That is all the code we should be writing in this class. When you are done and you've checked if it works, go ahead, either put done in chat or copy and paste your code into the chat like I just did. That way I can see how it looks, you know, check little things. All right, boss looks good. Chris looks good. Or sorry, you're actually Finya. iWee Games, whose name I don't know. Looks good. I see you're Kazuha. Maybe not a main right now. We don't have him yet, but
Saving up for Hu Tao.
yes. You're skipping Kazuha. Wow. Oh, I will say you still have on your if statement you still you don't have the parentheses. You still have it like this. They should do. Just go ahead and add those left and right parentheses there. All right, Vilvola, it's good. Eugene looks good. All right, Eugene, I'm gonna go ahead and steal your emojis here. No one else has to do this, but I'm gonna. There we go. Add a smiley face, and then for lame, I'll do your little sad face. There we go. And magic, great. Go away, thin pie, you don't belong here. All right. Now, you may be wondering, teacher, what was the point of this? We could have just for one thing, we could have just made a if statement, or this particular if statement right here. We could have just like checked if Quinn is, or if Quinn equals, if name equals Quinn, and then just counter logged from here instead of like making a function, returning true, and then counter the logging, you know. And true, for this specific purpose, it's not super useful to have a function, but it's still pretty useful, right? Because most importantly, we can take this function and use it later. One, we can use it multiple times in our code. Like maybe we wanted to have the user be able to, at any time they want, input in names to check if they're cool. You know, maybe you want them to be able to like have different names they can put in, you know, and then until they get the correct name. And then instead of just like having some kind of loop to run this code, you just keep asking them and then just call this function to run the code instead. A little easier. And even more importantly, let's say you made a function that is actually kind of useful for other people. Like maybe other people would want to use this function. You can copy it and then like paste it into their code and they can use it later for the places that they want to use it. Or eventually you can create your own library of functions you've created, and then other people could download that library. Maybe that's something we'll do one day. All right, for the last bit of class here, I'm going to do the classic game of what did I write wrong. Let me just make a bunch of lines here so I have new areas to work with. I'm going to write code, and then first person to see what I've done wrong gets a point. Or maybe everyone who does, but first person gets 2 points. I don't know, something like that. I'm not keeping track too much. Casual game. Okay. Let
You use the points for, and if like we get 10 points, you're gonna buy us McDonald's like that.
if you get 10 points, you get a thumbs up from me.
New
McDonald's.
PC. New PC.
Let's stick with a thumbs up from me. I don't have that much of a budget yet.
Mechanical keyboard.
Maybe
On a
one day.
Nintendo Switch.
You get a coupon for 10% off the mechanical keyboard I will sell at some point. How about that?
Okay, sure. But like you have to act. If we get if somebody here gets 20, they might get what is it called? I need bits, like the Twitch bits or something.
Oh,
That's not
right, yeah.
expensive.
Yeah,
right?
I'm not on Twitch, unfortunately. I don't think I could do that. Oh yeah, bits, right. Maybe at some point I will make a prize. I'm thinking about having like challenges outside of class, and then maybe like having prize for the challenges. Maybe I don't know, could be something cool. But for now, you just get thumbs up for me. The best you can do. So let how about
There's
number?
not a single day that I will not go on Twitch.
Yes, number greater than 10. Long function name, but that's not the problem. It's fine to have a long function name. Equals function. And then we'll do number here, getting the number.
Quotations.
Oh
Quotation
yeah,
marks?
you got quotations.
I think
Where
you should
the-
use quotations.
Yeah, I don't need quotation marks yet, because here I'm just making a variable name, right? I'm not like making a string number. I'm not doing that. I'm effectively creating a variable. In all intents and purposes, this is a new variable. It's a variable that will change based on what you input into the function, right? If you think of it as the input. But for most cases, you can just treat it like a variable, and it has a variable name. I can name it whatever I want, but it's a variable name, not like a string. So that's not the problem. I will say I haven't actually made the problem yet.
Aw.
If, and then I'll do number greater than sign 10, I will return, go ahead and do I've realized I've written myself into a corner because I have not made anything wrong yet. I don't know. I'll return
Or you
number.
have.
There we go. I'll return number. What have I done wrong? I probably have done something wrong.
Number.
What about number?
Return number. Is that wrong?
Some capital letter.
Yes,
Yeah,
capital letter.
capital letter.
There you go. I'll give 2 points to both Finya and iWii games there, because both of you kind of both got it, I'm not keeping track that well though. Yes, I have put a capital letter here instead of a lowercase letter. Especially because I named it with a lowercase letter, I should always keep the lowercase letter. Again, another reason why people don't do capital letters, because you have more of a chance of, getting things wrong. That's why a naming convention is so important. So you have a much less chance of getting things wrong, especially when working with like 20 other people. All right. And now this is the same function, actually. I'm going to write another line of code that is also wrong. Number greater than 10 invoked with 10. What have I done wrong? Sorry, let me do 20, just so,
Greater than 10?
something about that is wrong.
It's not a number, it's a string.
There we go. Good job. If you see here, it's not technically going to give an error, right? But obviously that's not my purpose, because the string 20 doesn't have any relation to being greater than 10, right? It's just a string. It could be anything, like name. In fact, I believe if I run this code, I should get an error. I don't get an error, but I also don't get anything at all. Let me go ahead and just comment all this out for now.
What's the number actually?
Oh no, that was correct. That was correct. It shouldn't be a string. It should be a number, because I am expecting here a number. All right, let me do.
In TypeScript, you would actually get an error if you done this with.
Yes, you would. In other languages, you actually have to specify what type, or like if it's a number or a string when making the variable, which is annoying but also helpful at sometimes. Like then. All right. Next one. Let hello equals function. And I'll do the function will return true, and then console.log hello. Something is wrong about that. I will say I meant to do something easier than this, but this is a difficult thing to know what is wrong. Finya, you seem to know?
I think after return, it will close the function.
Yes, that's correct. Once you type in return, you cannot run any more code after it. Once you return something, JavaScript will say, okay, stop, and then move along. In fact, if I hover over console.log, it shows unreachable code detected, because I'm always going to return true, and then I'm never going to console.log anything else. That was less of like a see what is wrong thing and more of a teaching moment. All right, let's do a couple more here. Let name equals function, and then we'll do how about if if name greater than 10 console.log 10. A lot of things wrong with that. Anyone can name one.
Name is not a number.
Partially correct. There is a more specific reason why this is wrong, though.
The function needs some brackets.
Yeah. First of all, I didn't put any curly braces. Even if I don't have a variable in here or like a user thing, I always have to put those curly braces in. Also, just because I put name here doesn't mean I can make name a variable inside my function. That would be like having a function call itself within its own function, which is you can do with like a whole nother thing. It is basically one, I shouldn't be having variables inside the function that have the same name as the function, because things could get confusing there. I should have like here maybe do like maybe input name or something, or maybe changing the name of my function like name checker like I did before. Because this just looks confusing of like what is naming what, you know. All right. Let's go ahead. How about this? And
That would actually have worked because it's a different scope.
yes, it does technically work. You are right. I won't get into scope this class, but yeah, it does technically work. Um, it's just not a great thing to do again because of the confusion. Because it is very similar to doing something like that, which is a whole different thing. Yeah, normally it's not that big a deal, but it's better to just rename your function. You know, you can always make more complexity to your function name. Having stuff like this is just going to be confusing for the programmer. All right, let's do this. I'm going to stop my share, and then anyone who wants to can share their screen, and then they will write wrong code. And the first one to say what is wrong with the code gets a point. How does that sound? Everyone understand?
Yeah, I do.
All right. I'm going to stop my share. Anyone who wants to try it out can share their screen and then write some code that is incorrect. Anyone want to go first?
Thinking.
You can also go ahead and put code in the chat that is incorrect, and then we'll go from there. If you can't share your screen, you know. You know, Mel, go ahead and call on someone here. I'm gonna be like a teacher here. I'll call on Finya. Or yeah, we'll go ahead and call on Finya because she seems to know all the answers. So Finya, go ahead and share your screen and then write some code that you know is wrong. Any code, just something that's wrong, and then we'll see what is wrong with it. If you can share your screen, I don't know if you can. Now that I think about it. Oh, there we go. All right. And the first one in chat to see what Finya is doing wrong can call it out.
And gets coupon of McDonald's.
Yes. Let A equals quotation marks 3.
You forgot like the I don't know, this thingy. Wait.
I will say this is just making a variable, so this is still correct for now. This is technically still correct because all Finya is doing right now is just making a variable, not a function. And by the way, this is called parentheses. All right, so Finya has let A equals the string 3 and let B equals the string 4. Then count.log in parentheses plus A plus in parentheses. I assume she's gonna type B. Anyone know what's wrong with this? Anyone can call it out.
You can use like only one.
What do you mean by that?
Or maybe like I don't know how to explain it though.
Um, are you saying like you can only use one like plus sign? Because there are like 3 plus signs in there.
Yeah, use only one plus sign.
Okay. I will say yes. For the first console log, that is a very strange code. I've typed it here to make sure you aren't trolling me and that actually does something, but no, I get like a weird error. Wait, let me see. Oh, well, that actually works. Oh, I see what you're doing there. I will say, Finya, I don't believe you've written code that's wrong yet. But that is cool what you've done. All right. I will say taking out the left quotation mark is a big problem. All right, I will go ahead and actually all right. I feel like this is now how a Finya writes code and I see if I understand what it does. Um all right. Let me go ahead and share my screen here and talk about Finya's code real quick. First of all, the second console.log actually is an error. It has like a stray parenthesis here. But one interesting thing is that let's say you were to just do A plus B, which is what I was expecting Finya to do. You would get 34. We did this like a long time ago, you know. If you do a string 3 and a string 4, A plus B is 34 because you're just taking the 3 and 4 and putting them together. But apparently, if you put parentheses around each variable and then put a plus sign in front of it, it turns them into numbers, and you get 7 as expected. I did not know you could do that, but apparently you can. We'll go ahead then and we'll stop class on that.
With those pluses, you force the convention string to number.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're like, yeah. I didn't know you could do that. Good job. That's cool. All right. I will say, don't feel bad if you didn't know that or anything, guys. Finya is like was in another class where we learned stuff like this before too. Finya's a little ahead of this class right now, I will say. But we'll go ahead and stop there. Again, the main part of the function is that you're inputting stuff and you're outputting stuff. For homework, go ahead and make, if you want, you can just put on Facebook the same function, but I would like it if you could make a function a little bit different. Maybe like, even just go ahead and maybe do like let number checker, and then it checks for a number, or even do like number adder, and maybe the function adds 2 numbers and returns the added of those 2 numbers, or something like that, you know. I would even encourage just doing let and then whatever name you want, like may like try to make like a machine, like the congratulations innator, like in Phineas and Ferb, and then just doing whatever you've written down. You make a function to do whatever weird name you've created. Finya, you have a question?
Could I actually do a recursive function? Could I do that?
If you want to, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm learning recursive function with my dad.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to make a recursive function, go ahead. Yeah. In fact, I could challenge you and say, write me merge sort, but I'm not going to do that because that would be punishment. All right. We'll go ahead and class there. Hopefully you were able to learn something. Hopefully you had some fun there. And we'll go ahead and next class, same time, next week. Hope to see you there, and goodbye.
Bye. And can you please come to Thailand and catch giggles for me, please? I'm terrified.
Yes, I will.
Just like staring at me like in the bathroom, and I'm like, why are you staring at me?
Yes,
Not like it's traumatized by that.
I will be coming to Thailand soonish, and then I could add like more. I'll be able to do class times that aren't like 7 in the morning, because right now I can only do like mornings and nights because noon for me is midnight for you guys. So I'll be able to do like more normal class times,